welcome to Vicky Makes and Builds. Today I have my Valentine's Day special video for you. I'm hoping that I can put this video out on Valentine's Day because the puzzle that I'm going to do for you is difficult and it might take me quite a long time to do. So whether this is on Valentine's Day or after, if it's after, I do apologise. If it's not, great stuff. But either way, I hope at least to get this puzzle done in the month of February. I'll stop talking about it and I will just show you. It's this puzzle here. It's called Dozens of Roses and it's an Impuzzible by the brand All Jigsaw Puzzles. Now I have done one Impuzzible before on the channel. That was the Candy Hearts Impuzzible that I actually did for last year's Valentine's video. And I bought this one at the same time as I bought that one, and I don't know if anybody remembers, if you were subscribers to my channel a year ago, but I bought both puzzles and I wasn't sure which one to do, and I actually put it to the vote, and the one that got voted was the Candy Hearts. So this puzzle has been waiting patiently on my shelf for a whole year and I finally had the guts to pull it out and do it this Valentine's Day. Now it's a very pretty image. It has lots and lots of roses on it, which are very pretty flowers. However, there's nothing else apart from tiny, tiny patches of green that crop up maybe 2 or 3 times. You're talking about all rose blooms jammed together and the image is taken from the top of the blooms. So to all intents and purposes, it's a solid red puzzle. There's a little bit of texture obviously because there are flowers, but I have no doubt in my mind that this puzzle is going to be really, really difficult to do. Now I hope that having done an Impuzzible before, that will stand me in good stead, and I hope that I've been doing these puzzles for long enough that I have a few tools in my toolbox to try and get it figured out, but we shall see. At the very least, I think this video might be quite a long one because I would imagine there'll be a lot of strategy involved in the puzzle, figuring things out in order to try and put it together. So if it is on the longer side, I hope you don't mind that. I just like to explain my thought processes and how I'm sort of figuring it all out as I go along, but we shall see. But for now, I'm going to get this box opened and I am going to have a look at these pieces. Enjoy! Okay, so I'm going to take the lid off and have a wee look at these pieces. There we go. Right, I don't think that this box came with cellophane on it. I seem to recall that last time with the Candy Hearts puzzle, which I've just got beside me here. They came well kind of packaged in the post, but I don't remember there being any cellophane on. So I've just taken the lid off. And we've got, it's quite a long box, kind of a wide, narrow box. And so we've also got a wide, narrow bag of pieces. So I'm just going to open them up and have a wee look at the pieces. And I thought I would maybe compare them to the Candy Hearts because even though they're the same sort of line of puzzles, the Impuzzibles, and by the same manufacturer, All Jigsaw Puzzles, this one's an older one. This one's number 10, whereas the Roses one is number 19. And I just wondered if maybe there'd been any kind of changes to the pieces or anything over the puzzles in between. And I was just going to do a quick comparison because it was like a year ago when I did this one, so I can't really remember. So I've got this one handy anyway. I'm just going to pour these out. Obviously a lot of red, which I'm trying my hardest not to be intimidated by. And not to be a little bit scared by. But anyway, let's have a look at these pieces. So they're similar shape from what I can remember. I mean, it's all like the standard shapes. So we've got the usual kind of 2 ins, 2 outs that way. We've got the 2 ins and 2 outs that way. We've got 3 ins and 1 out. Edges, obviously. And I'm sure there are all the other ones as well. There's another one there. So it's all the standard shapes, just like in the other Impuzzible. But from what I can recall, the actual kind of flat, sort of slightly flat, slightly wide kind of orientation of these pieces is the same as in this one. I do remember that. So like this one here, for example, kind of not exactly the same, but kind of wide and flat. So I might get some idea of the orientation of these pieces, which way they go from the shape. It's not as obvious as in the Impuzzible puzzles. They're very kind of obviously wide and flat or tall and narrow. So it's a little bit more obvious in those ones. This one I think will be harder, but it is, you know, there doesn't appear to have been any real change over the course of the puzzles coming out. Not certain why they would be, I just couldn't really remember how the pieces were with this one, but they look to be pretty much the same. Same blue cardboard at the back, pretty good thickness of piece, and they've just got a slightly shiny finish on them, which, you know, not a huge fan of, but again, that's just a personal preference really. They look to be really good quality. There's no peeling that I can see. I don't see any pieces stuck together. Oh, tell a lie, there's one there. I'm going to keep that as a bonus. I think I'll need all the help I can get with this one. But yeah, no, they look to be a decent quality piece. It's hard to tell if I'm going to have the same very slight kind of blurriness of image that I had on this one, because there's just so much of the same kind of texture on these pieces, so it's quite difficult to tell until the puzzle actually starts to come together. But there are, I mean, just looking at it without really doing a lot with these pieces, there are, I can see a piece there with some green in it. So there is some sorting that can be done, but not very much. I think mostly it will be by shape and perhaps also how dark the pieces are, because there are some pieces where there's a lot of kind of dark with a lot of sort of folds in the rows, which means they're likely to be in like the center of the flower. And then other pieces that are a little bit brighter, like that one, which perhaps might be more at the edge of the flower. Some might be able to differentiate that way, but I think this puzzle is going to be really, really hard to do. But we'll see. We'll see how I get on. And yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so that's the sorting done, and I have sorted by shape. I just decided to do that right from the beginning. These pieces here are ones I found that were together already, and I have kept them that way because this puzzle's going to be really hard and I need all the help I can get. These pieces here are ones I found where there's a little bit of a rip in the piece, or it's started to peel a little like there. And like this one, there in that corner, it started to kind of bend a little bit and peel, and so I put those to one side. There's only 5. I mean, it's not many, not enough really to massively complain about, but it is there on some of the pieces. This one I put to one side because it's the only one where the piece was mostly dark background. There's a little bit of green on it, but it hardly had any actual rows on it. So I think that piece must go maybe there. If you can see there at the top, and there's a similar area down there in the bottom left corner. So I did pull that out. If I find any more like that, where there's a lot of dark background on it, then I'll pull that out. But there's only one, so that's not really a sorted pile. It's just one piece. But anyway, just to briefly go over it, these pieces here are the usual kind of 2 in on opposite sides and 2 out, and that's the biggest pile, which is pretty normal, to be honest. And then these ones are the ones where it's like a little castle type thing. You've got 3 outs and then 1 in. These ones are the ones where you've got 2 ins and 2 outs on adjacent sides. These are the ones where you've got 3 ins and 1 out. And these are the edge pieces. So what I'm going to do, my initial strategy, is going to be to tackle the edge, and then I will organise the pieces, lay them out so I can see what I'm working with, and then I'll just start puzzling it and see how I get on from there. If any other strategies become clear as I go, if any pieces jump out as being particularly dark or bright, I'll obviously, you know, use that to my advantage. But at the moment, I'm just going to take it one small step at a time and just try and let the puzzle unfold as it will. Decent amount of puzzle dust, including these little cardboard puzzle dust stick things. Don't know what you call those, if there's an official name. There's a fair amount in there, but you know, not so much that it's a bother really. So I'll just scrape that into the box and throw it away. And that's it really. That's it on the sorting and on the pieces. So it's time really to just get on with this edge. Okay, so it's slow progress, which is expected, but it is progress. So, and I'm using everything in my arsenal here. So basically, I kind of started off by, when I was laying all the pieces out, I was noticing like how kind of densely packed some of these roses were, like these spirals, and how kind of squished together they were. So I found this piece, I think it was, or this piece, one or the other, it was that one. And then as I was turning over these shaped pieces, I found that one, and I realised that it followed the same kind of line orientation, and it was also densely packed, and I managed to put those two together. So, you know, there were a couple I was putting together, and then I was looking at the picture. I mean, I am referring to the picture a lot, and I'm looking for like roses like that in the bottom left corner, which are really bright and kind of dense. So definitely shade, darker shades and lighter shades coming into play here. But not only that, I'm also utilising piece shape, obviously, because I have sorted by shape, but really I try to narrow down as much as I possibly can. And the most amount of pieces I've got is this shape here. I've got some up there, I've got some along there, I've got some there, and I've got even more in a puzzle box down there. And so when I get to a point where there's like a gap like this one, and I know it's either going to be one of these or one of these, I have a lot less to choose from. I can kind of look through the lines, I can sort of see what sort of bit of the rose I'm looking for or whatever, and I can normally pick it out. Sometimes I can't, in which case I don't mind going through each one and just testing it, and I have done that a couple of times. So it really is, there's a lot of trial and error, there's a lot of using the box image, trying to discern light and shade, but there's also kind of a texture element. So for example, when I found this one here, I knew I was looking for the really tightly spiraled bit in the center of the rose, and you can normally see what pieces they are. So there's definite aspects of this puzzle that I can use to put it together, you know, that make it perhaps slightly marginally easier than a solid coloured puzzle. But another thing I'm utilising is, now that I've got this little bit of the corner together, I know, because I'm familiar with the cut pattern on this puzzle, I know that the cut pattern here in this corner is going to be a reverse version of the cut pattern here in this top right corner, and as such I managed to find that piece there. I knew it was that shape. So because I've sort of come to a bit of a halt here, I'm now going up here. I'm going to try and utilise the cut pattern to see if I can find the right shapes. I know this is going to be one of these pieces. I've not found it by glancing, but I can just use the trial and error method and just test each one. And I'll try and grow out that corner as well. And then when I've sort of wasted all my strategies there, then I will go to another bit and just try and build out another bit. But I mean, it's going to be slow going at first, but at least I know that I can do this. It's just taking a long time. But anyway, tiny progress. Right, so progress is coming along. I have just over 300 pieces in here, about 330, something like that. And I counted them. I wanted to know what my progress was. But anyway, I've got all pieces on the table now. I don't have any in separate boxes except those. And the only reason I've separated those is because they are pieces with tiny little bits of green on them. And they're on the table anyway, I've just kind of put them on top. But I've emptied my other big box lid, so they're all out and I can see what I'm working with. Now, as I've already explained, you've got this puzzle cut down the middle, and then basically the cut pattern on that side is flipped. And it's the same on that side. So I know that whatever's happening up here is also going to be happening in reverse, kind of down here, and vice versa. So that's why I've got a lot of kind of opposite edges and corners coming together and going inwards. But there's one other thing I've noticed during the course of this puzzle, and that is that each piece is repeated 4 times. This is what I've worked out so far. So for example, what's happening up here repeats again around about here, and then what's happening here repeats again over here. So if you count it as, say, if you say this pattern here is 1, then this pattern here is 2, and then it goes back to 1 again, and then it goes back to 2 again, and then you have the same thing happening here, but the opposite way. So you have to have 4 basically of the same piece in the top half, like 2 in the top half, 2 in the bottom half. Now that is the case for all but these pieces going along the middle. There are some pieces, and they stand out, some of these pieces. I'll show you an example. This piece, for example, I'll just pull it out to show you. This piece is tiny little narrow piece with the 3 outs and 1 in. And there are only 2 like that. And it's really easy and quick to see from just looking at those pieces that there are only 2. So what I've discovered basically since putting this little row of pieces together and that little row of pieces together, that's the exact middle, that line there. And basically what I've discovered is that anywhere there are only 2 of the same type of piece, then they must go along the middle. So what I've actually started doing is I've started looking at these shaped pieces, and these shaped pieces, and I've started pulling out any where there's only 2 of the same piece. So so far I've pulled out these 2, these 2, these 2, these 2, and I've actually started here putting some of those pieces together because I know that they're going to go somewhere along here, and eventually I'll be able to complete that row. Now, the only time that becomes difficult really is when we're dealing with these pieces, because there's still such a lot of these, and unless they're a really unique shape, like they're particularly tiny or something like that, it's hard to tell whether there's only 2 of them or if there's 4 of them. But that certainly can be done at this stage with these pieces here. So this is why I have rows, like, so that's 4, all the same shaped pieces. There's 4 lots there. So they're going to go 2 in the bottom, 2 in the top somewhere. There's 4 there, 4 there. This will be 4, but what I've done is I found these 4, and I matched that one to that one, and then I found the other 3 matching ones, and now I can easily put those together, I think. It's still sometimes quite hard to tell. I think I've got that wrong. That one goes there. Still, I'm trying to do this with one hand, so it's quite difficult. Still sometimes quite hard to tell which one goes where, but so I know that they don't go along the middle row. So really what I'm doing now is I'm going through a process of kind of micro sorting. So all these pieces, look, I've put in rows of 4, and I've pulled out anywhere there's only 2 of the same shape, Forgive the banging in the background. That's the cat trying to claw his way into the room. I will go see to him shortly. And any that where there's only two, I've took them apart. And in some cases, I can start to build them out and hopefully get this center line done and take it from there. At some point, I am going to have to face all of these other shaped pieces, but I've just been trying to ignore those for as long as possible. There's a whole load more under there because they're just so numerous. But all these wee things, I hope, are helping. So I've actually got bits of the puzzle coming together and growing in sections, and hopefully that will help me to build it up. But yeah, so I'm really using every trick in the book with this. I'm really trying to strategize with it because it's such a hard puzzle. I need everything. So I hope that makes sense. That is what I'm doing right now, and that is why I've got loads of little bits stuck together. And that's the strategy that I am utilising at the moment. Hopefully I can actually get more slotted into the puzzle and maybe even get past halfway. This puzzle is so close to being finished. I have only had one shape left for a while now, and that is this shape. And now I have maneuvered all of the pieces over to the right side. So they're all together, and when I'm scanning looking for a piece, I'm not having to look on two different sides. So, you know, and they are going in now, even though there's still a few gaps and it's only one shape. They are going in. I'm able to use the shapes to sort of pick out the right ones. I would say particularly this center line, and obviously that center line, I would say they're not filling in as fast because they're made up of only 2 repeat pieces rather than 4. So, you know, I'm going to find one of the 4 more likely than I'm going to find one of 2 and then get it in the right spot. So that's just kind of you just have a higher likelihood, really. So I think that's probably why this centre line is still stubbornly white at the moment, but it's definitely working from the outside in. We've got these corners pretty much filled out. Been trying to fill these wee gaps, just these ones that have been there for a little while and are just starting to annoy me. I just want to kind of get them filled in. That's on occasion. It's taken some trial and error puzzling, but I'm trying to avoid that if I can. And sometimes I'm just lucky and I just spot a piece and I sort of have a rough idea where it is, and I'm, you know, sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but sometimes right. So, you know, I've got lucky a bit with this puzzle as well, but I'm so close. I really want to push on and get it finished now, so I'm going to just do that right now. So close to the end. If only the rest of it would just build itself. Last piece, thank God. Thank goodness I've finished the Dozens of Roses puzzle. I am very, very, very proud of myself. That was no mean feat. That puzzle was very, very difficult. I found it really hard. But that isn't to say that I found it completely and utterly frustrating and annoying. There were times, you know, and moments of frustration, obviously, but for the most part, actually, I had to put so much thought and strategy into this puzzle in order to get it done that it really really grabbed my focus, and it meant that everything else, just annoying stresses of life and things like that, all just went out of my head, and when I was focused entirely on the puzzle, I just got lost in it, and actually I really enjoyed that. So it wasn't that the puzzle was not enjoyable. I did enjoy it, strange as that sounds, but it was, there's no doubt about it, one of the hardest puzzles that I have done. I mean, I've gone through my strategies pretty meticulously throughout the whole video, but I'd say, to summarise, really what started me off was, aside from the edge pieces, some of the particularly brighter roses, which I was able to put 2 or 3 pieces together. Some of the pieces that were already in the box together did help a little bit, I must admit, so it was maybe just a tiny wee cheat, but there weren't that many of those, in fairness to me. So I kind of, but once I had got a start, like a little, you know, even a minor foothold, and I remembered about the fact that the piece cut pattern was the same on both sides but flipped 180 degrees, once I remembered that, that really was what kind of launched me into the puzzle. I knew that at least 2 sides of it were going to be the same. It took a bit longer to realise that the piece shapes were repeated 4 times, except for the ones along the middle lines. It took me a little bit longer to figure that out, but again, once I'd figured that out, then I was able to put that strategy in place. So it was mostly the cut pattern and the piece shapes really that got this puzzle finished in the end. But to start off with, I would say the shades, the different shades of red, the darks and the brights, and how densely packed those roses were, they really are what kind of got me going to start with. So I was using everything. I used sorting, I used shape sorting, I used the cut pattern, I used the light and shade, the textures, even just the tiny bits of green. If there were moments where I was slowing right down and I just became stuck, there was maybe a bit where I could see I was close to a little green section, and I thought, well, I can maybe pick those out of this plethora of pieces that were in front of me. And sometimes that would get me going again. So just anything I could use to keep this puzzle going at a fair old rate was, I used it. I definitely used it. But I mean, even still, I wouldn't say I did this puzzle quickly. I cannot tell you how fast I did the puzzle because I didn't time myself, unfortunately. I've been at it for a couple of weeks at least, which is why there's been a week with no video, because I've really been trying hard to get this puzzle out by Valentine's Day. Unfortunately, I am a little late. Not too late, it is still February, and it was only Valentine's Day last Tuesday, so I don't mind too much putting it out as a Valentine's video just a few days late, but I'm just so pleased that I finished the puzzle. I didn't give up on it, and I really enjoyed it as well, in actual fact. In terms of quality, I sort of went over things really at the beginning. There were maybe about 5 pieces where there was a little bit of peeling, not enough really to bother me that much. There was a medium amount of puzzle dust, again, nothing really to shout about. The pieces on these puzzles do tend to be just slightly on the glossier side, not overly so, but that's not a preference of mine. I prefer a matte piece. So little things like that maybe that would have made the experience better for me. There was one thing I wanted to look at once I'd finished this puzzle, because I remember this from the Candy Hearts puzzle. The box images on these Impuzzibles, I'll just grab the camera first. It's behind me here. So the box image on this is really quite sharp and clear, and one of the things I found a little bit disappointing with this puzzle was that blown up on the puzzle, it lost a little bit of the focus, and I felt like the photograph was just a touch on the blurry side. And with the roses puzzle, it's more difficult to tell because it's just all the same thing and all the same colour, but there is just that ever so slight blurriness between box image and puzzle. So I kind of, again, it's not as major on this one, and I didn't notice it quite as much, but I think a bit more sharpness would have made it perhaps slightly easier to do when I was searching for pieces by kind of a specific texture. So, you know, that is something I'd like to see improved, where, you know, the process of blowing up the photograph in order to put it on a puzzle doesn't make it just slightly fuzzy and a little bit blurry. But again, it's all like, this isn't going to stop me doing an Impuzzible again. I have enjoyed both of the Impuzzibles that I got for Valentine's Day, and I have enjoyed this one. I do think it's a good brand. I thought they were decent enough quality pieces. That's probably my biggest bugbear about it. But again, nothing too major really. So overall, yeah, I had a really good, enjoyable experience with this. And I'm not gone totally insane, so that's a bonus. Okay, so now I'm coming to the point where I have my big news to share with you all. Now, it's 2 things in particular. The first thing is, you may have noticed that I finally reached my milestone of 3,000 subscribers. I'm so happy to have achieved that goal, and I'm so thankful to all of you for supporting my channel and for hitting the subscribe button and watching my videos each time I put one out. I really do appreciate your support. And what I did was I put a poll up on my community tab. It's actually 2 separate polls, because I wanted to do a 3,000 piece puzzle for my 3,000 subscriber video, but I had 6 choices and they only let me put a maximum of 4 up on one poll. So I put it up as 2 separate polls with three puzzles each, and you cast your votes. I got a lot of votes, something around about 400 or something like that. So that was absolutely brilliant. 400 or 500 people responded to that, and the majority has spoken. So the puzzle that I am going to be doing for my 3,000 subscriber video special is, drumroll, the Anatolian 360 World Puzzle. As you can see, I have already purchased it. It is here in my hands, and I'm ready to get started on it as soon as I can clear this table of this Roses puzzle, which I've now thankfully finished. So, and I'm really looking forward to it. Never done an Anatolian. I wanted specifically to do a puzzle that by a brand I'd never built before, and Anatolian's one of them. I really do like these colours in the sky here. There's a rainbow and there's a couple of birds, and it's actually, you know, considering it's all buildings, it's actually quite a colourful puzzle. So I'm looking forward to doing this, and thank you so much. If you cast your vote and your puzzle didn't win, then don't worry, because I actually really like all of the puzzles. Chances are eventually I'll maybe do them all one day. In particular the Graphica. I think the Graphica was my personal favourite. I did like the Graphica puzzle. But anyway, I'm looking forward to doing this Anatolian puzzle, so thank you very much for putting your votes in. I have it ready, and I will get to that as soon as I possibly can. So that's my first bit of big exciting news. My second bit of big exciting news is that how do I say this? I'm so excited, I'm like bouncing in my chair. Okay, my second bit of exciting news is that this year, in September, the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships will be held in Spain once again, and I will be there. I am going to the Jigsaw Puzzle World Championships, and I could not be more excited. I have signed up, I've paid my entry fee, I have been looking into flights and all that stuff, so it's all in hand, and I just couldn't be more excited. But to top it off, I am not only going to be entering into the individuals category, I will also be entering the pairs and the teams categories, something I never thought that I would be able to do. But as it happens, my good friends Donna Louise from For the Love of Puzzles, Jeanette from Jeanette and Her Puzzles, and Juby from Jigsaw Juby are all also going to be at the Worlds this year. I am pairing up with Juby for the pairs competition, and I will be with Jeanette and Donna Louise and Juby for the teams competition. I know that Donna Louise has announced it on her channel. I'm not sure if Jeanette has yet. I think Juby will be announcing it soon as well, but it's just such a rare opportunity. The four of us are going to get to meet, and it's so amazing, especially since we've just literally done the Battle of the YouTube Puzzlers. We've got another one of those coming up, hopefully middle of the year. We're sort of still in talks about that, but that's going to be amazing practice for these worlds, and we're going to be puzzling together in Spain in September. So please, please let me know what you think about that. Are you excited? I'm excited. Go and check out Donna Louise's channel and Jeanette's, and also Jigsaw Juby's. I'll link them below. I'm sure they'll be making their announcements very soon. As I say, I think Donna Louise already has. If you're on Instagram, check out all our Instagram feeds, because we're going to be putting posts and updates and stuff up on there as well. It's just such an exciting year for puzzling for us all. So please do leave a comment. Let us know what you think. How excited are you? Will you be going? Are you going to the championships yourselves? Will I get to meet some of you? Oh, it's so amazing. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for staying tuned to the end to hear my news. Thank you for watching the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Happy puzzling. Bye.